H&F Waterloo Holdings. It is 7 o'clock. We will get started. We've got technical difficulties, so we're not gonna have anything to display on the screen, but we will get this meeting started. So I'll call the meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, April 16th, 2024 at 7 PM.
Oops.
We'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Marshal Allen, will you lead us?
Certainly. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And next we'll do roll call. Start off to my left. Doug Smith.
Here.
Dean Renfro.
Here.
Kathy Burke.
Here.
Greg Dolphy.
Here.
And Jeff Beachy's here. Off to my right, Town Manager Mike Yoder.
Here.
Clerk Treasurer Kathy Antonelli.
Present.
Legal Counsel Alex Bowman.
Here.
Town Marshal Mike Alvin.
Here.
And the back, Fire Chief Nick Gantz. All right. Everybody had a chance to review the agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, any corrections or changes to the agenda?
Jeff, the only point I'd make on 7A and B, statute does not require public hearings for those. So leave that at the council's discretion if you'd like to open those matters for public comment.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. Any other corrections or clarifications?
Nope.
Okay, if not, we'll get right into reports. Mike, what do you have for us tonight?
We, through annexation and the completion of the new railroad crossing, we've added some streets to our inventory. So I'm, in your packet, there was a letter from JPR saying that these were constructed and they do meet our local standards. And I need an official action from you to accept these. And then Jeff will need a letter for you to sign, and I'll submit that data to PennDOT. We're adding a little over 1 mile.
So you want to vote on, you want a motion for that tonight?
Accept, yes. Do it, please.
So is there a motion to accept the new roadway into the town's inventory?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, motion by Greg. Second by Dean. Open for discussion.
Yeah. Do we have to put new names on it or anything?
Well, no, well, Stonema and Rail Park are already named. County Road 23. We're going to have to at some point. We're not quite ready yet.
Okay.
I just really hate to make those people
Oh, their
change
addresses
their
and
address.
stuff, yeah. I
So we're
understand.
sure what the developer's going to do.
Okay, thank you.
So we're hunting or holding or pausing or, I'm just telling Jill not to return phone calls.
Okay. Any further discussion?
At the end or
Discussion.
yeah.
Eventually.
If not, we'll take a vote. Doug Smith,
Yes.
Dean Renfro,
Yes.
Kathy Burke,
Yes.
Greg Dolsky.
Yes.
And Jeff Beach is yes. Motion carries. Okay. Anything else, Mike?
Nope, that's it.
All right. Kathy, anything tonight?
No items this evening.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have anything for Kathy? Or for Mike, for that matter?
Nope.
Okay, Alex.
Thank you, Jeff. I have 3 items for the council this evening, all ordinances that are up for second reading and adoption. The first ordinance on the agenda, ordinance 4/16/2024-7, which is an ordinance amending ordinance number 10/2022B, which is an ordinance of the town of Bristol authorizing the issuance of sewage works revenue bonds for the purpose of the sewage infrastructure improvement projects. This is, as we indicated on the first reading, this ordinance is necessary in order to complete the SRF application bond process. The important note for the council is it replaces what was the prior amount of the bond at 12.4 million and replaces it with the new value of the bond, which is $31,092,000. This is up for second reading. As I indicated in the introduction, a public hearing is not required by statute. We have it listed on the agenda by all means, if the council would like to hear public comment, it certainly would be appropriate. But other than that, I would recommend that the council adopt this ordinance on second reading.
Okay. I think in light of the value, I think we will open a public meeting. So at this time, I will open a public meeting to hear public comment regarding the waterworks bond. So if anybody would like to make public comment, please do so at this time. Okay, seeing no comment, we will close the public meeting. And before us as a council is a request for an ordinance to approve on second reading
Correct.
for ordinance 4-16-2024-7. Is there a motion to approve that ordinance?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 4/16/2024-7 on second reading.
Okay,
I'll second.
motion by Greg, second by Kathy. Open for discussion. No further discussion. I'll take a vote. Doug Smith,
Yes.
Dean Renfro,
Yes.
Kathy Burke,
Yes.
Greg Dolsky,
Yes.
and Jeff Beach is a yes. Motion carries.
Thank you, council. The second ordinance this evening is ordinance number 4/16/2024-8, which is an ordinance of the town of Bristol, amending prior ordinance number 10/2022A, an ordinance of the town of Bristol authorizing the issuance of waterworks revenue bonds for the purpose of financing the waterwork improvement project. Again, this is before the council on second reading, so this is an ordinance that is ripe for adoption and enactment. Again, like the ordinance prior, this amends the prior ordinance to replace the $13.7 million amount with the new value for the waterworks at $17.28 million. Direct the council's attention as well to Exhibit A, which further describes the scope of the project as it stands. Happy to answer any questions. Again, this is statute does not require that this come before a public hearing, but would encourage the council to hear public comment if there is any. And my recommendation would be to adopt this ordinance on second reading.
So at this time, we will open up a public hearing, a public meeting to review ordinance 4/16/2024-8, an amendment to the Bristol Waterworks Bond. So, is there anybody in the room that would like to make public comment this evening? Hearing no comment, we will close the public meeting. And we will move for a motion to adopt on second reading ordinance 4/16/2024-8. Is there a motion?
I will make the motion to adopt ordinance number 4/16/2024-8 on second reading.
Okay, so motion by Doug,
I'll second.
second by Greg. Open it for discussion. No further discussion, we'll take a vote. Doug Smith,
Yes.
Dean Renfro,
Yes.
Kathy Burke,
Yes.
Greg Dolsky,
Yes.
and Jeff Beach is a yes. Motion carries.
Thank you, council. The last item I have for you this evening is ordinance number 4/16/2024-9, which is an ordinance of the town of Bristol, Indiana, amending chapters 51 and 52 of the Code of Ordinances relating to increases in water and sewer utility rates. This is again, this is was presented to the council at the April 4 meeting. Notice was provided in 2 newspapers that circulated the town as required by statute. This is an omnibus ordinance that addresses both water rates, sewer rates, and any of the additional fees that are being incorporated into the Code of Ordinances for the town. And this is the rates that are provided here in exhibits A through F, H. A lot of exhibits to this ordinance. These are rates that were determined to be sufficient through Baker Tilly's work So these are, the rates are their recommendations, in order to satisfy the debt service obligation that would come along with the SRF funding. So essentially, the ordinance and the rates that are proposed here are necessary in order for the town to finance the water and sewer infrastructure improvement projects. Happy to answer any particular questions about the rates. This is, but we'd initially contemplated this process back in June of last year when there were initial changes made to the sewer and water rates. What's provided for here, there is a stepped process. So there are rates that are effective beginning May 1, and then for sewer rates, there are nominal increases through 2026. And then for water rates, there are rates effective May 1st, 2024, with then a nominal increase May 1 of 2025. And again, they're designed, they're calculated in order to meet the debt service obligation with the SRF.
Okay.
This is, unlike the two prior ordinances, this is required to have a public hearing. The public comment remonstrators are entitled to be heard. My recommendation at the close of the public hearing will be for the council to adopt this ordinance as presented. I can tell you as well that there is a short remonstrance period after the adoption. So absent the additional objection, these rates will become effective 5 days after their adoption. So Saturday, Sunday, to be effective May 1.
Okay. Okay. So at this time, we'll open up a public hearing to hear any concerns or questions regarding the water and sewer rate change for ordinance 4-16-2024-9. So is there anybody who would like to make public comment regarding the updated water and sewer rates? Hearing no comments, we will close the public hearing and ask the council if there's a motion to approve ordinance 4-16-2024-9, the new water and sewer rates.
I have a question before we do that.
Yeah.
Is this on second reading or first?
Second.
This is second also, okay. I make a motion, we approve on second reading ordinance number 4-16-2024-9.
There's a motion by Kathy
I'll second.
and a second by Doug. Vote for discussion. No further discussion. We'll take a vote. Doug Smith,
Yes.
Dean Renfro,
Yes.
Kathy Burke,
Yes,
Greg Dolsky,
Yes.
and Jeff Beats is yes. Motion carries.
Thank you, council. That's all I have for you.
Okay. Thank you, Alex. Anybody have any questions for Alex this evening?
Nope.
Okay. If not, questions on the upcoming agenda items, doesn't look like they're listed there. Other comments or questions? Mike?
The county just passed a county ordinance allowing for off-road vehicle use on county roads, and we've been approached again. I guess an inquiry was made if you folks would be interested in passing a similar ordinance. So I'm asking tonight, there's opportunity for you folks to talk about it. Mike might have some, Marcia may have some comments as well. If there's a general consensus you'd like to move forward, then Alex and I will start drafting some language for you to consider at one of the future meetings. If you'd rather not, then I will invest in Alex's time.
So Mike, you wanna walk us through the ordinance in the county, or either Mike or Mike knows?
As far as the ordinance in the county, they've crafted theirs similar to many other communities who allow ORVs on the roadways. And I guess from the perspective of the Bristol Police Department, it's really the perspective of probably all of law enforcement. The only thing that we have a concern of is public safety. We just want to make sure that the vehicles that are being operated on the roadways are safe. What I can tell you is historically, there was fairly limited scope in vehicle usage, but because of legislation and registration, there is a massive span of what is considered a vehicle now. And they're being operated on the roadway. So you're even, and I've had a couple discussions with people who have come into my office and wanted to discuss this topic. What I'm gonna call a side-by-side, what you may know as a RZR or these caged vehicles, that they're proposing actually are safer than a lot of the dune buggy things that we saw in the 70s and 80s. They're much, much safer. And so from that perspective, I think the technology has advanced to where we have the ability and the manufacturers have the ability to put these vehicles on the roadways. You as a council, can look at the language that other municipalities have adopted. And all I ask is that you consider the safety of the residents and the people who are passing through. I do think it will open up an opportunity if you choose to do that, to allow people to come into town, again, perpetuating summer activity, things like that. In my 27 years, I've worked numerous accidents, fatal, several of them that stick in my mind, where a vehicle was on a roadway that was subpar and there's nothing left of anything. It was that bad. So I think that the only thing that I would say from our perspective is just consider the safety of the people operating them. They don't always think of that. But I'm completely amenable to opening up our local roadways. They still have to operate under all the guidelines from the state laws. They can't exceed the posted speed limits. Some of the RZRs have the capability to go extremely quick, but as long as they're prudent and reasonable in their operation on our roadways, which we will enforce, I have no problem.
Does this include four-wheelers?
Yeah, so,
Because I know there's a huge problem on North Division Street with way over the speed limit and just joyriding.
yeah, and that's gonna be, you will limit that by the scope of the way you craft the ordinance or the way the ordinance is crafted. I would just ask that is considered in that, as how that's crafted. I think that's the biggest thing. And again, the way the majority of the language is, you have to be an operator. You have to have an operator's license and it has to be registered. You have to have all the equipment, the safety equipment on the vehicle. And I say vehicle. By statute, a vehicle is constituted a conveyance by land, air, or water. That's a vehicle. So it's very open. So you guys just look at the language and I do see it opening some opportunities for people to move through our roadways safely. They still have, the education is the biggest component, but that's not from your perspective. That's something that we could do. And then enforcement's the other side of it, is when they're not educated and we have to enforce it, we give them an education and an enforcement. But hopefully
Things
that's
like
minimal.
meters, stuff like that.
Yeah, and so this is the biggest problem is, and I'm gonna use an example. We had an individual many years ago who bought a vehicle overseas, very small, tiny vehicle. At the time, you may figure out who this is because it's a small community. But it didn't meet the qualifications for bumper height. And he wanted to plate it and put it on the roadway, and it made sense for his business, but he legally could not do it. They've opened the scope of the definitions of that now so broad that today I see them operating on the roadways. And to be honest with you, it's just my personal opinion, really. It's not so much, it is professional as well. The accidents that occur with vehicles that are considered vehicles, and I'll just, a smart car, for instance, some of these really tiny cars, I just passed one in here. I like my Tahoe. That's all I'll say. So that vehicle affords the individual operating it less safety than what these RZRs do or these ORVs. So that's really,
I know you brought up, we brought up 4 or 5 years ago about the motorized scooters. You know, that about we'll do it on sidewalks and stuff like that. I know I saw one go down the sidewalk the other day. So that's considered now a motor vehicle?
yeah. So the state of Indiana has crafted some language that I'm going to have to familiarize myself. And it really has to do with electronic bikes now, because now we have power assisted bikes, we have pedal bikes.
That's what this was like,
Yep.
the two-wheel that you stand on.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's just that's become very broad, and I think it's great that we have the ability to have all these things. However, the state is starting to classify, they're always way behind. So they're starting to classify some of these. Many years ago, I think you were on the council, the golf cart ordinance was passed. So we've regulated that. If you choose through your ordinance, you can legislate, or you can not legislate, I'm sorry, you can regulate that by some registration, things like that. But just know, the state already has some of that regulated, so
Okay.
council will do their due diligence and provide you something that would be minimal.
What about mini bikes? Is that considered?
See, we fall into that. Is it registered? Does it have the operation?
No, they didn't.
Capabilities? I know they didn't.
All three of them went by the house, no.
Yeah, but to be honest with you, if it did meet as the qualifications as a motorcycle, we would have to classify it as a motorcycle, even though you and I both know that it's 5 horsepower mini bike. But turn signals, the things that is required of a motorcycle, people do go to the lengths to try to create those things because by statute, it's defined as a motorcycle.
These must have been 10 horse, because boy, they could scoot down that sidewalk pretty fast.
Yeah, so I think that's really the only thing I would say from public safety's perspective is we don't enjoy working those accidents, and so we want people safe. Give me reasonable people who can operate on a roadway, I'll take them all day long.
So to Kathy's question about four-wheelers.
Mhm.
So you have a Razor
Mhm.
side by side, and you've got a Honda four-wheeler.
Honestly, yeah, whatever.
Yep, call it an Odyssey, yeah. Well, Odyssey's,
That's where that.
yeah, they were the caged ones, so let's call it the, what is the,
Grizzly or one of
yeah,
those.
the Grizzly, the regular four-wheeler, the true ORV four-wheeler. So in those instances, the vehicle has to be equipped with all of the things that are required for a vehicle, correct?
Other than, there's an exception for farm. If you classify it as farm.
Yep.
You do it as farm, you put a slow moving vehicle on the back of it, emblem, not.
Yep.
The emblem, and then that qualifies you as a farm vehicle. And
Yep.
They are supposed to use those for farm purposes, transferring from one field to another. Still, we're pretty open and the county has been pretty open on that.
Yeah.
But if they don't classify it as farm, then it has to meet a vehicle, all the specifications of a vehicle.
Okay, so in a vehicle, in my truck,
Mhm.
I'm required to wear a seatbelt.
Mhm.
How do you put a seatbelt on a four-wheeler?
It's been done, I'll show you a couple.
Same
Don't
way
have
we
a
do on
motorcycle
golf
either.
carts.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so don't need it on a motorcycle.
Okay, so would a four-wheeler not require a seatbelt?
If it's considered a vehicle, then it's gonna fall under the vehicle laws and it's not the exemption of a motorcycle. So it's
Okay.
going to require a seatbelt. Yeah,
Okay.
see, and if we get into another category,
Yeah,
3 wheels, looks like a motorcycle, registers a motorcycle, that's a motorcycle.
Yeah.
We can.
idea slingshot.
I'm not saying.
We can take a close look at the definitions that are in the county ordinance, see how they handle them.
Yes, yeah, and I would suggest,
Maintain some consistency.
and I know you guys will do your research, you'll get the homework, you'll get what should be proposed and it's like anything else, you're gonna have 1 or 2 people that'll cause a violation, we'll enforce the violation, they'll learn, and the other 98% of the people have a great time.
I mean, what do we think is gonna be the most predominant? Who are gonna be the most predominant users of this ordinance? Is it gonna be,
You ready? White males between the age of 22 and 38.
is it gonna be razors? Is it gonna be four-wheelers? Is it gonna be three-wheelers?
Type of vehicle, it's everything, you're gonna have everything, you'll have the gamut of everything.
Yeah.
For us lame people or me, I have no idea what the difference is between a Razor and a four-wheeler or
No.
anything like that.
Yeah, the language will specify that, and so what they're called side-by-sides. Technically, they're an ORV, which is off-road vehicle.
Yeah.
The state of Michigan actually uses a sticker system to operate them in Michigan and so forth. Again, you guys will do your due diligence, you'll be presented with something that'll help classify that for you, and it's not so much for you, it's really for us, is this classifying, is it within the state classification?
Yeah, I need to see pictures.
And the state is requiring registration, they're gonna get their cut of the taxes and so forth.
And you have to have a valid driver's license.
You must be a valid driver, yeah.
Okay, so Kathy, here
How many
is,
citations have you issued for off-road vehicles being arrested in the community? I mean, I see razors all the time, like in
Yeah.
the gas station already.
Yeah.
So I mean, is it worth drafting anything or just it's a citation versus use the officer's?
Yeah,
Judgment.
you guys need an ordinance.
that's a
So
razor.
there's a couple of
Okay.
counties, I'm saying
And
counties,
it's like a-
communities that don't have an ordinance.
That's a four-wheeler.
One of them,
Yeah.
in the state of Indiana.
Yep, so that's
You
four-wheeler.
need an ordinance. And then
That's a
for
razor.
us, it's really similar.
Razor,
Only
they can be
it's-
street legal. There's a guy that like drives one all the time.
Yeah,
And then for us, as far as the enforcement
Man.
side of things, it's business as usual. If they're violating a traffic statute, we're going to enforce it.
Okay, let me ask you one quick question.
Okay.
He just showed me the difference between a Razor and I knew what a four-wheeler was.
Okay.
Four-wheelers if they have nothing, no roll cage or anything like a Razor,
Mhm.
do they require helmets?
Unless they're under 18, according to the law.
Yeah, you have to, are you gonna classify it as a farm? Because a lot of our farmers. are
Well,
using
if it's not a farm,
So you're
okay,
talking as a vehicle?
Yeah.
If it's a vehicle, no, because it's a vehicle. If it's classified as a motorcycle, then it's exempt. It's just-
okay,
Then there's a whole law in Indiana. Yeah.
That's correct.
that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, just
But,
wondering.
but the one the county has says under 18, you have to have a helmet.
Shane, you're
or
gonna have to
something.
tell me what
something I
all
just
these
read.
different kinds.
Yeah, so you guys can craft that in as a council. The local roadways are yours. You don't have any effect over state roadway and so forth. And
So that brings up another
how do
question
we get
is,
across the
But I was
state
gonna
road?
ask.
It comes with
Elkhart
that.
County approved the ordinance, so can they be driven on State Road 120, State Road 15?
No,
No, because that's prohibited by the state.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you're allowed to cross a state route perpendicular.
Yeah.
One
But
side
not
to
travel
another.
along.
You can travel along it, and there's an issue that I'm gonna need some research before I make comment on, and it has to do with the right of ways on state roadway. I know what I was advised by NDOT a couple of years ago, but I want to refresh that before I make any public discussion on that.
Okay,
Yeah, 'cause it's very hard to get across the bridge without going parallel on a state road, for 15 or 120.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we have a community that's unique with the funneling of the river and the way we get across the river. One of the people posed that to me and said, well, how do I get here? There are ways. It's just you have to be creative and still be legal.
well, I know
Right.
during the homecoming, we have to come up
Mhm.
Illinois, if we would need to get gas out here at the station, we have to come up Illinois. We can drive on 120 either across the bridge or to the gas station, but that's all the distance we can go on 120.
You know, I think it's a little bit like, I remember the discussions, Kathy helped me out. I say 10 years ago, it's probably been 20.
Oh, it was at
On
least
golf carts,
15,
and it was just a big thing, and it's not a big thing anymore.
yeah,
yeah,
So,
it was longer than
Kinda
a
keep
10,
that in
yeah.
mind.
What was the cost of the golf court ordinance or the golf cart ordinance? What was the cost of that versus the two golf carts I see?
It was before my
what is the cost to craft it from legally,
Yeah,
from the
Oh.
attorneys?
minor.
Yeah, it was, it wasn't.
that's what I mean, like. If it's already shut
Pretty hard
down.
over there. You see what Don's trying to go through his eyelid?
The bill could be the same as it was 15 years ago,
It'll be-
right?
so do we, so does that
What I'm saying is
require a
ordinance,
permit
like,
for
we did it for
Bristol?
three
Will that
people.
require a permit?
You would choose that in your
How many
ordinance, whether you're
off-road are we
going to
gonna
make
see?
them be required to permit. Now, what I would say is in the permitting issue, you know, that's gonna be negligible in the impact of our overall budget, so
Yeah.
consider that,
It's gonna be a mess.
it's gonna create some
It's
issues.
gonna create
Yeah, I would,
trackability,
You got
traceability.
people coming from Jefferson land and.
What's even more than that? I've had people from Syracuse actually contact me and say, hey, we want to come up and go to the river or do something. Are we gonna be required to have a permit? I said, that's gonna be up to the council whether they choose that. So just think about that and the
Yeah.
financial impact. And I will say this, permitting process sounds good on paper because you're gonna get a fee, but to process that and the time it takes to do that, I'm not sure you're gonna be benefiting in any way.
Right,
Now they allow snowmobiles too, from what I'm reading.
Okay, so snowmobiles in Bristol is a unique thing because we have the Miami Snowmobile Trail that we've had here forever. That came right up here, and at the time, River Inn Restaurant was here. We allowed our snowmobiles, as long as they operated on the right of way, to come up to our parking lot here, park and walk over and eat and then leave, and they really never caused a problem. It wasn't the riders from Miami Snowmobile Trail that ever caused a problem. It was a kid that got on one and decided to go across the golf course, the golf course. So again, those one-offs that you may still have with an ATV or ORV, but for the 98% of the general public,
I know they'll go down like through my front yard out by the road, come out and be on the yards.
yeah, and snowmobiles are a little bit different just because they require that certain amount of snow.
Yeah,
You know, ORV, let me go, doesn't matter the snow conditions. So
okay.
I don't take a position other than I just think about safety. That's all I ask.
well, I mean, from a safety standpoint, we have a Pontiac Solstice. A Razor is 10 times safer than a
Mhm.
Pontiac Solstice.
Mhm.
It is, nothing over top of our heads.
Hang on, Debbie.
Yeah, so
So, okay, council opinion?
Move forward.
I think you're gonna have them no matter what we do.
Yeah.
Well, I think we are too, but I want to look into it further too, as far as. Like I said, I have not a clue the difference between one of these and one of those.
Well, are we in favor of having Mike and Alex and Mike work on an ordinance for us? at least moving
Well-
forward.
We'd have to get some kind of guidelines in order to do that, as far as, which
County's already got
vehicles,
'em.
which
County?
vehicles, or,
And the counties,
we're talking about county guidelines?
Yeah.
Oh,
we
okay.
would follow,
I have no problem with that.
we would follow the county guidelines.
I have
There's
no
several good models out there, I'll just tell you up front. And council will find them.
Okay,
So you have our,
We'll go to work.
you have our approval to move forward with crafting an ordinance.
Just add it to your list.
Okay.
Touch more.
Okay.
remember, the fee will be the same as it was 15 years ago. Remember that, Alex?
We won't have to reinvent the wheel with this fire.
That's gonna be minimal.
Yeah,
Yeah, the main thing, everything's moving today.
We may spend more time putting it in our format.
That's right, we didn't have.
Anyways, I remember, I don't know, it's probably been a decade ago, the county commissioners, they were kind of sticking at that time rejecting this idea, I think. And but I think I saw the current information that they were looking at this time around, and as Mike said, I think we've become an island as a county of not allowing these. And I think we don't want to be a town that's an island within a county, so.
right.
You guys were one of the early adopters of the golf cart.
Mhm.
You might have been the first in the county.
It works.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah,
All right, we will get her done. Probably look at, I don't know, June, maybe July, somewhere in there. Time we get our other stuff done, so in that kind of thing. Unless Alex is really fast.
Yeah, just-
June would be reasonable, I think.
Yeah, so you're aware, the people I've been talking to, I said if the council considers it, I said probably mid to end of summer. I mean,
You know,
the wheels of justice turn slowly,
Yeah.
so do municipal.
okay.
okay? Very good.
And-
So,
Jeff, did you have anything for us tonight, or you just came to visit us and say hi?
We just want to be here tonight. No, we were just here for, the public hearing in case any questions come up.
Okay.
Regarding the rates, appreciate
Okay,
it.
well, thank you for coming.
Yeah.
All right, anything else this evening? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Greg,
I'll second.
second by Doug, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thanks, everybody.
Next meeting.
7:30.